On the morning of August 23, 2009, in Anadarko, Oklahoma, a 61-year-old pastor, Carol Daniels, made her usual journey to Christ Holy Sanctified Church, where she faithfully ministered. Despite the fact that regular services were no longer being held, she continued attending every Sunday, holding on to the hope that someone might enter in search of spiritual guidance or comfort. That day, around 10 a.m., surveillance cameras recorded Pastor Carol Daniels arriving at the church. She entered the building and began preparing for service, following the same quiet routine she always did. By 11:40 a.m., retired Bishop Silky Wilson Jr. and his wife Julia came by to meet her. They found her vehicle parked out front, which seemed completely normal. But something was off. The church doors were locked. That was highly unusual. Carol was known for being early and always kept the church open and welcoming. Concerned, the couple knocked on the doors and windows, hoping to get a response, but the silence only deepened their worry. They quickly headed to the Anadarko Police Department to report the situation. When an officer responded and entered the church through a side entrance, they were confronted with a horrifying scene. Pastor Carol Daniels was found dead, lying face down behind the altar, completely naked and surrounded by a pool of blood. She had endured multiple stab wounds, primarily concentrated around her neck and throat, and her head was nearly decapitated. Her arms were stretched outward, posed in the shape of a cross, and her body had been doused in a mysterious chemical substance. To make matters worse, much of her hair had been burned, causing severe scalp injuries. As law enforcement launched their investigation, they confirmed what many had feared. Pastor Carol Daniels had been brutally murdered. The shock of her death rippled through the entire community. People were left stunned, asking how such violence could happen to a woman like her. She was known for her compassion, dedication to serving others, and her unwavering faith in God. She had no known enemies, only a desire to help those in need. In addition to being a respected pastor, she was also a loving mother to 6 children and a cherished grandmother. This is the tragic story of Pastor Carol Daniels. Carol Dunlap Daniels was born on October 26, 1947, to Theophilus and Charlesetta Dunlap. She was the second of 4 siblings raised in the warm embrace of family love in the Oklahoma City area. From a young age, Carol radiated a quiet strength and kindness that made her stand out, not for chasing attention, but for the calm and compassion she carried through life. After completing her education at Douglas High School in 1965, Carol ventured to Texas for college. However, her heart led her back home, where she pursued and completed her degree at Central State University in Edmond, Oklahoma, in 1971, earning a bachelor's in chemistry and biology. That same year, she married Alvin L. Daniels Jr., and their union was blessed with 6 children, 3 sons and 3 daughters, who would become the center of her world. In time, Carol and Alvin relocated to Spokane, Washington, but by 1978, they returned to Oklahoma. Although their separation was never officially confirmed, it's believed their marriage ended during this period. Despite personal hardships, Carol remained steadfast, determined to grow both personally and spiritually. She continued her education, earning an associate's degree while working towards a master's. But more than academic achievement, she was drawn to something deeper, her spiritual calling. In 1990, Carol followed that calling and was ordained as a minister within the Christ Holy Sanctified Church. With deep humility, she began serving at Holy Temple Church in Oklahoma City, devoting a decade of her life to ministry. Then, in 2001, Carol was appointed pastor of Worthy Temple in Anadarko, a small church located roughly 60 miles from Oklahoma City. This humble church, nestled in a crime-affected neighborhood, served predominantly Native American and Black communities. Despite living in Oklahoma City, Carol faithfully made the 100-mile round trip to Anadarko every Sunday. Even when formal services stopped, she never stopped coming. She would unlock the doors, prepare the sanctuary, and wait, just in case someone needed a place to pray, someone who needed her. She became a quiet rock in the community, tirelessly showing up for those most often overlooked: the elderly, the poor, the homeless. Her outreach and charity efforts were motivated not by obligation, but by genuine, unwavering love. Carol wasn't just a pastor. She was a caregiver to many souls, a calm and dependable presence, and someone who gave everything of herself to others. In Anadarko, people didn't just respect her, they adored her. Her consistent love left a mark that would not be forgotten. Alongside her work at Worthy Temple, Carol also held leadership roles within the National Christ Holy Sanctified Church organization. She served as secretary and treasurer for the Oklahoma chapter. Yet her most precious role was within her own family. She was a devoted mother and grandmother, always present, always loving. Her son Alvin once described her as the kind of woman whose mere presence made you feel safe. She was nurturing, deeply engaged, and always willing to listen, comfort, and love. On the morning of August 23, 2009, Carol followed her usual Sunday routine. She left her Oklahoma City home and drove to Anadarko. Although the church no longer held regular services, she still went, holding out hope that someone might walk through the door in need of prayer or peace. Alvin told CNN that she kept showing up just in case someone came to worship. Her mother echoed that sentiment, saying Carol always believed someone might show up in search of God. At around 10 a.m., surveillance footage captured Carol arriving at the church, located between a home and an auto repair shop, with an alley behind it. She went in to prepare for service, just as she always did. By 11:40 a.m., retired Bishop Silky Wilson Jr. and his wife Julia arrived, planning to meet Carol. They saw her car parked out front, normal enough, but the church doors were locked. It was unusual, even alarming. Carol was always early and always kept the doors open. Worried, they knocked on doors and windows. No response. Eventually, they went to the Anadarko police station to report their concerns. An officer promised to go check. Officer Ashley Burris arrived at the church around noon. Entering through a side door, she was met with a horrific scene. Carol's lifeless body was found face down behind the altar, naked in a pool of blood. She had suffered numerous stab wounds, mainly around her neck and throat. Her head was nearly severed. Her arms were stretched out in a cross-like shape, and her body was covered in a strange chemical. Much of her hair had been burned, leaving her scalp badly damaged. Officer Burris called for backup, and within minutes, more officers and paramedics arrived, all shaken by the gruesome discovery. The Anadarko police launched a homicide investigation and quickly brought in the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, OSBI. Officials initially withheld many details, though they did confirm Carol had suffered multiple sharp force injuries and had been placed in an unnatural position, details they kept close, hoping they might help identify a suspect later. Police canvassed the neighborhood, but no one reported hearing or seeing anything unusual. There was little physical evidence. Carol's clothes, purse, and briefcase were missing, but the most terrifying aspect was the deliberate destruction of evidence. The chemical poured on her body, possibly bleach, was likely meant to destroy DNA. Her hair had been burned, either chemically or by flame. Whoever had done this had taken chilling care to cover their tracks, pointing to a deeply personal, almost symbolic attack. It appeared the killer had a message to send. What that message was, and to whom it was meant, was something even veteran investigators struggled to comprehend. Detectives found what they thought might be a break, a large knife found in a nearby car wash drain, but tests showed the knife had been there too long to be related. Surveillance from a nearby store confirmed Carol's arrival at the church, but offered no further clues. No suspicious figures, no vehicles, nothing. Investigators suspected the killer entered through the back, avoiding cameras. They removed the church's rear door as evidence, but found nothing useful. With little to go on, police offered a $10,000 reward for information, eventually raising it to $15,000. Tips came in, but each lead turned into another dead end. Carol's loved ones were devastated. Her family struggled to accept the loss of a woman who had been their foundation of love and strength. In both Oklahoma City and Anadarko, the grief was immense. People couldn't understand how someone so gentle, so selfless, could be taken so brutally and with no answers. An autopsy, delayed by 9 months due to changes in the state's medical examiner office, confirmed that Carol died from deep slicing wounds rather than puncture stabs. She suffered brutal injuries to her neck, chest, shoulders, scalp, and hands, many indicating she tried to defend herself. Authorities believed Carol was targeted, perhaps for being a black woman, a woman of faith, and a religious leader in a small town. Her identity seemed to play a role in why she was killed. Investigators urged local churches to enhance their security. Fear mounted as people wondered if the killer might strike again, but the case stalled. Desperate, the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, OSBI, brought in the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit. Still, nothing moved forward. Rumors swept through Anadarko, whispers of satanic cults, drug ties, or hostility toward female pastors. At one point, police even looked into a local metal band for their lyrics, but nothing came of it. A grainy surveillance clip showing a figure in white running near the church raised hopes, but the image was too poor to identify anyone. Another dead end. Then in 2015, 6 years later, a woman came forward claiming 2 local drug dealers were involved. She took investigators to a shed where she said evidence had been burned. She described seeing one of them holding a bloody knife and blouse around the time of Carol's murder. But before she could give more, she died of an overdose. Police investigated her claim and eventually focused on a suspect. In 2017, a Caddo County grand jury heard evidence connecting Denise Cooper, also known as Darnell Cooper, to the murder. Rumors about her had circulated for years. 2 men, Destin Toppy and Kevin Mahan, testified but offered little cooperation. Prosecutors suggested Carol was killed during a robbery and that Cooper hadn't acted alone. By the time the grand jury met, Denise Cooper had already died of cancer at 55. Prosecutors believed she was involved, but couldn't press charges. Whoever may have helped her has never been identified, and details about the evidence tying her to the crime were never released. Authorities later said the case was essentially closed, yet no additional arrests were made and no new details have emerged in years. Carol Daniels' murder remains unsolved. May her memory live on, and may she rest in peace.